The Titanoboa, snake bigger than a bus. The Titanoboa was not only larger than today's biggest snakes, it was longer than a Tyrannosaurus rex and just as heavy as an elephant. It's believed that the snake could swallow a full-grown human in one gulp and lived around 60 million years ago. A 42-foot-long serpent that once slithered through steamy South American swamps is causing a stir after its fossilized vertebrae were found in northeastern Colombia. The snake's vertebrae were discovered in Cerrejón coal mine in the northeastern part of the country. Experts say these vertebrae are the oldest in the world and date back around 60 million years to when the planet was recovering from the mass extinction that killed off the dinosaurs. That would make this gigantic reptile the first of its kind to appear in the fossil record, according to scientists with the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institution in Panama. Paleontologists say the Titanoboa weighed about 1,100 pounds and grew up to 42 feet long. It was so large that it had to slither on land because it couldn't swim like other snakes. According to Live Science, researchers said the Titanoboa weighed more than the largest living snake, the 700-pound green anaconda, and the 600-pound reticulated python. This massive snake is estimated to have been between 33 and 42 feet long. So if it could actually grow to 42 feet, it would easily be the longest snake on the planet. If you can imagine this creature swimming through water, it would be deadly. But since it couldn't, it had to come up on land. If it could swim, it would rule the oceans. It would be able to devour anything. And the fact that it couldn't slither through the water may have been why it went extinct. Because it was so big, it needed warm water to survive. And when the climate cooled, it died out. David Martill, professor of paleontology at the University of Portsmouth in the UK, said it was highly unlikely that such a large predator could exist today for a number of reasons. For example, there aren't many large prey animals left, and even fewer that a snake could wrap around and constrict. There are also no habitats suitable for a 42-foot snake. Another reason why we won't see them today is because of the lack of food. No animal could eat enough to sustain a 1,100-pound snake. So finding enough genes to create something that large would be nearly impossible. So let's break down some of the details on this amazing creature. First of all, how do we know it was 42 feet? The vertebrae tell us this because we can see how they connect. And the vertebrae also help us determine the length of the snake. These vertebrae were from the tail end of the snake, and the larger ones came from the neck. Scientists were able to use the proportions of the vertebrae to estimate the size of the entire snake. They believed that the head alone would be about 6 feet long. They arrived at the 42-foot length by measuring from the end of the tail vertebrae to the end of the skull. While there's no direct evidence that shows how long the Titanoboa was, scientists say there are a few clues that can lead them in the right direction. First of all, the vertebrae were discovered in a horizontal position, which tells us that the vertebrae belonged to the same individual. If they were found in different areas and at different times, scientists might assume they were from different animals. However, since they were found together, this tells us that they are related. Another thing that helps us determine the length of the snake is the shape of the vertebrae. Since they were so close together, scientists believe that this particular snake was one continuous unit. Another clue that scientists used to estimate the length of the Titanoboa is the type of rock in which the vertebrae were found. The vertebrae were found in a layer of rock that dates back about 60 million years. This means that the snake died out before this time period. Scientists also found other fossils in this area that suggest that the Titanoboa lived in a swampy environment. They found the remains of turtles, crocodiles, fish and mammals that lived in the water or on land. This tells us that the snake wasn't restricted to the water like other snakes. Instead, it could move freely between habitats, which would explain why it grew so large. In addition to the vertebrae, scientists also found teeth and jaw fragments from the Titanoboa. These fossils will help them learn more about the snake's diet and behavior. The researchers say that the snake's teeth were adapted for crushing and tearing flesh. This means that the Titanoboa wasn't a passive hunter. It actively pursued its prey and ate it on the spot. The snake's jaws were also flexible, which allowed it to swallow large chunks of meat. According to Live Science, paleontologist Jason Head of the University of Nebraska State Museum said that Titanoboa was an apex land predator. He said that it was one of the largest terrestrial predators that ever lived, along with dinosaurs such as Tyrannosaurus rex and Giganotosaurus. This is interesting because the Titanoboa was thought to be a snake. Snakes are typically small and weak, but this one was as big as a T-Rex and just as fierce. When the vertebrae were discovered in 2009, scientists weren't sure what to make of them. They were so large and heavy that they assumed that they couldn't possibly belong to a snake. In fact, they thought that they might be from a dinosaur. It wasn't until they carefully cleaned and examined the fossils that they realized what they had found. The discovery of the Titanoboa has shocked the scientific community. It shows that snakes are much more diverse and adaptable than we thought. Until now, the longest snake ever discovered was the Gigantophis garstini, which lived in North Africa about 40 million years ago. It grew up to 36 feet long, which is still pretty impressive. But compared to the Titanoboa, it's just a little guy. There are a lot of things that we don't know about the Titanoboa. For example, we don't know what it looked like or how it moved. We also don't know what it sounded like or how it hunted. But as scientists continue to study the fossils that they've found, they hope to learn more about this amazing creature. The discovery of the Titanoboa reminds us that there's still so much that we don't know about our world. Even though we've been exploring the Earth for centuries, we're still finding new and amazing things. Who knows what other creatures we might find in the future? Maybe one day we'll discover a new dinosaur or even a Loch Ness monster. The new findings come from a group of researchers led by scientist Derli Cortez of the University of Nebraska State Museum. The team used high-powered microscopes to examine the fossilized vertebrae and other body parts of the prehistoric snake. They discovered that the vertebrae had a unique structure that made them heavier and stronger than modern snakes. This allowed the Titanoboa to grow to incredible lengths without breaking its own bones. In addition, the researchers found that the Titanoboa had a special adaptation that helped it move on land. The snake had elongated ribs that connected to its spine, which gave it more flexibility and support. This allowed the Titanoboa to slither and maneuver itself while on land. The researchers also examined the chemical makeup of the fossils and found that the Titanoboa had a higher concentration of strontium than modern snakes. Strontium is a mineral that's often found in rocks and soil. It's also used by scientists to determine where an animal lived during its lifetime. The researchers say that the Titanoboa was an opportunistic predator that would eat almost anything it came across. Its diet likely consisted of mammals, birds, reptiles, and fish. The snake's powerful jaws and sharp teeth would have allowed it to quickly kill and consume its prey. Overall, the new research has given scientists a better understanding of the Titanoboa and its place in history. The findings have also raised a lot of questions about the evolution of snakes and the possibility of giant snakes living today. While the Titanoboa may be extinct, its legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of scientists and snake lovers alike. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an amazing video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.